Oh, wow. I think we're watching the implosion of Kamala Harris and her campaign right now.
When we think about what's at stake in this election, whoa, it's packed with some stuff.
Ha, ha, ha. As, of course, Kamala Harris is very funny in her own mind, as things are not looking good for her, as SNL even did a comedy skit about how just absolutely awful her campaign is, and we are on the precipice of Joe Rogan getting very involved in this political cycle, as of course he is just about to sit down with Donald J. Trump, as of course the corporate media already is losing their ish. As, Kamala, there's a lot of stuff, and it's stuff that's not really good for you and your future. This as the cast of the Saturday Night Live TV show was just as savage to her as her own words are to herself. As during the skit, a fake Kamala Harris actress was asked why she is losing, with the actress saying, "My campaign has raised $1 billion. The fake Steve Harvey responded, "Oh my Lord, how are you not winning by a landslide?" With the fake Kamala answering back, "That's a question I scream into my pillow every morning." And, the situation is bad when you have to force Barack Obama away from his many beachfront mansions, as he is also getting actively involved in her campaign and also complaining about specifically black guys not supporting Kamala. As Barack O. Drone Bomber had this to say:
"We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running." Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
As it's fair to say that the brothers definitely had a lot of that build back better Bidenomics that really isn't working for them, as a lot of brothers are complaining specifically about migrants taking their jobs, taking their communities, making the cost of housing go up, the cost of labor go down, which of course immigration does. As Kamala Harris has even changed the way that she's been singing around this specific tune, highlighting how she allegedly is, tough on the border. When in reality, we know she's not. We know what the Biden administration has done to this country. It changed it forever. As a recent video that, of course, was just shared around by a lot of people on social media reads the caption, "It would be a shame if Barry saw this." Barry, of course, being Barack O. Drone Bomber.
Who you voting for?
Trump.
Come on, bro. Harris does backwards, bro.
What?
Harris.
Man, we not voting for that, man. We voting for Trump, man.
And who you voting for, Trump or Kamala?
Man, Trump, we ain't that Indian, man.
Who, Kamala?
Yeah, we ain't
Why you don't with her?
because she them immigrants. I'm black.
So why you ride with Trump so much?
Them Venezuelans taking all our bread.
Hey, Trump or Kamala?
Trump, to be honest.
Why Trump, though?
He used to keep immigrants out, so, we was able for us to get jobs. It's hard for us to get jobs now. Immigrants taking over. And they do it better than us, though, but they taking our man.
All right, so this election around, you voting for Trump?
Yeah, Miller, for I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not her Venezuelans, them. That's with. I don't with her.
Like, what would make you want to vote for Kamala?
I ain't gonna lie, we was the last two people on earth. Still wouldn't do that
Damn.
on bro grave.
It's like that?
Yes, like that.
Yeah, as of course the internal poll numbers do highlight that. And it's fair to say that Kamala Harris, the longer she campaigns, the longer she advertises, the less chances she actually has of winning this specific election cycle, as there's even highlights into how the Democrats focusing on Donald Trump attack ads have had a Uno reversal kind of moment, as it's also coming out that people are becoming more pro-Trump after seeing him speak in the hyperbolic, sensationalistic nature that the Democrats think is going to, of course, help them, when in reality, it's helping out Donald Trump. And who would have thought doing Vogue magazine photo shoots, as well as appearing on podcasts like Call Her Daddy, aren't successful media strategies here when it comes to, of course, galvanizing the male vote, which they are very desperate for. And you see that in the messaging, you see that in the advertisements, as they just released this very cringy weird video filled with a bunch of gay dudes somehow trying to convince you that men only vote for Kamala. As it's important to note here that Jimmy Kimmel's writer Jacob Reed directed this ad for Kamala Harris, as it's trying to appeal to the everyday male out there and their, quote, masculinity. As these paid actors and left-wing activists, one of them being a bisexual adult star, by the way. Another man is telling you that he likes to braid his daughter's hair. The guy doesn't even have a daughter. Again, everything here is absolutely scripted, fake, contrived, and let's just be honest here, plain old weird. And I don't know about you, but this guy standing here as effeminately as he is probably won't get the brothers to change their mind about Kamala. Holy cow, look at this Geico caveman here who really does look rugged. Look at the testosterone flowing from this low T beta male. Oh boy.
I'm lost even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Goodwill Hunting.
West Side Story. That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
They couldn't even find the paid actors to support Kamala that looked like 6 normal men. That's how bad the Kamala Harris campaign is doing, as other online commentators like Jeremy from The Quartering came out and even just announced Kamala Harris has lost the election, specifically detailing the absolute train wreck that was the recent 60-minute interview where a lot of people just saw the true side of Kamala and really weren't impressed here. As of course, when it comes to the two most important issues this election cycle, specifically the economy and then immigration, it's fair to say that the status quo here of what has happened under the Biden-Harris administration isn't something that the average American wants to see continue. And no matter how much she says she's different, we know she's not. No matter how much PR, marketing, and Hollywood executives she has behind her, a lot of people just aren't buying it. And there are some kind of very organic, natural conversations that are happening with her opposition that are highlighting this larger disconnect from the corporate media that overwhelmingly loves her, and of course the average American that just wants to survive. There was a very interesting exchange between a New York Times reporter and J.D. Vance that specifically highlighted this larger issue and care and consideration for the average fellow man out there, as the New York Times was trying to, of course, criticize and attack J.D. Vance for saying that illegal immigrants shouldn't be taking away American jobs. For the New York Times, you know, a larger kind of globalist institution, she supported those larger globalist policies that, of course, are not America first. But this is where the exchange got really interesting.
About a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large proportion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question, because we know that back in the 1960s, when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes, I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
A fundamental...
The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
to work in construction?
Of course you could.
A job that, of course, is surprising to a liberal that would, of course, want Pedro over there, who walked across the border illegally into the United States and get paid less than minimum wage, that she wants him to do, rather than, of course, her son or her brother or whoever. As this shows you the larger kind of disconnect between the establishment and, of course, J.D. Vance, that is talking about policies that can actually help and uplift American people, rather than, of course, just benefit the ultra-international elites that want to, of course, take advantage of people. And that's the bigger difference right there, that no matter how much marketing you have, you cannot hide, as I think J.D. Vance definitely handled this interview very intelligently. And there's going to be a bunch of crazy butthurt people that, of course, no matter how much you rationally try to speak to them, they're going to be acting deranged. There's a lot of people that are just emotionally unhinged. Sadly, a lot of those people are predominantly, let's just be frank here, on the left, and are usually younger people that have less and less opportunities in this country. As there's even professors, there's even mainline people in our institutions that are calling for violence. There's people representing this violence in very kind of crude, weird ways, specifically when it comes to, of course, this larger political cycle that, for me, is just a larger turnoff. Seeing these kind of largely violent depictions does highlight a side that cannot peacefully talk or resolve their issues through communication. And when that fails, they resort to violence, just like children. And to me, that is absolutely ridiculous, but also sets us on a trajectory that isn't a really good one for this country, as there's going to be half of the country that is going to be really pissed off about the results that are going to be coming in on November 5th. Hopefully, there's going to be some kind of larger resolution. Hopefully, we could talk things out. And one of the most prominent talkers in our society is, of course, Joe Rogan. That looks like he just took a very interesting turn in this political election cycle, specifically going very hard in the paint against Kamala Harris, as he recently said this.
But I don't think it turns around if Kamala Harris gets into office. I think they clamp down more. I think the same stuff that they were trying to do with Twitter, they'll try to do with something else and with other things. They've already openly discussed it. She's openly discussed that the same rules have to apply to Facebook, they have to apply to Twitter, and that Elon Musk could lose his privileges. And, there's so many wild things that they're saying.
This as Elon Musk took to his social media platform to say and responded, quote, "It will happen," specifically responding to ALX that just said Joe Rogan has 25 days to interview Donald Trump. Now, with also a recent interview from the Nelk Boys, we found out that Donald Trump is confirmed and is going to be on the Joe Rogan podcast, which will absolutely have the corporate media freaking out. Now, let's be honest here. There was a kind of weird, contentious moment between Joe Rogan and Donald Trump that just happened a few weeks ago, where Donald Trump went on the offensive and actually attacked Joe Rogan. So how will this interview play out will be anyone's guess. But from all the comments that Joe Rogan has been saying recently, to see his larger kind of transformation from being kind of this leftist liberal figure to now being called an alt-right figure by the corporate media, which of course he's not, as there's now media heads on MSNBC literally calling him a fascist. As she said, young men are needed to go to therapy. By the way, there's a lot of predators in the therapy industry that, according to some people, make the problems a lot worse than they actually do help people with. But she says, young men need to go to therapy and stop listening to Joe Rogan because they're being converted to, quote, fascism. Yes, this lunatic actually said this in this particular clip.
Is actually for all men. I think men are in crisis, actually, in this country. I think that plays out different ways. And not all men are in crisis, of course. And not all men are just at home listening to Joe Rogan, being angry or being recruited to fascism. Some just need therapy, like we all do. I go to therapy, that's great. But I think we need to have a real conversation about that rather than allowing this kind of drift toward this faux masculinity that we see Donald Trump evincing.
And what I
Yeah, now I don't know about you or if you ever listened to Joe Rogan, but listening to his podcast doesn't invoke anger. It invokes laughter. It makes you laugh. It makes you understand that the moment is a fun one to be a part of, as of course he presents free flow, kind of off-script conversations that are nice to listen to. He also has a very nice voice, as Donald Trump even commented on recently on this clip from the Nelk Boys that they just released on Twitter, as the full episode with them talking to Donald Trump will be soon released this Monday.
You're doing a lot of podcasts recently. One that I would love to see you on is, I think Joe Rogan has to have you on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Oh, sure I would.
I think Joe, like, besides us, Joe's
I think
obviously-
I'm doing it, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you are going to do Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I am.
Joe Rogan's the best in the game for sure. And I think, you know,
Did
him
Joe
having-
become so well known because of the UFC? And he does a great job with that, right? What was it that made Joe the best?
during COVID, you know, he was very outspoken on all the corruption going on during COVID. And I think that's personally when I started watching him a lot too. And just, he's an honest guy too, right?
He is.
So I think.
Good guy.
Good guy. And I think you guys together would just
And he's got a good voice. That's important.
Yeah.
That is going to be a major moment that truly will, I think, only bury Kamala Harris that much deeper. As it's fair to say here, the establishment is pretty desperate. They're losing. The Kamala Harris campaign is imploding. And to me, this is going to be one of the most defining moments of this already very tumultuous and crazy election cycle. First, we had the attempted taking of Donald Trump's life. That didn't just happen once, happened twice. Then, of course, we had RFK Jr. and many other prominent former leftists, like Tulsi Gabbard, literally joining up with Donald Trump, which, of course, solidified a huge base of people that were still undecided and unsure about Donald Trump. Then, of course, we had the major libertarian convention speech, which reached out and actually sent off an olive branch to a lot of people who didn't like government, as Donald Trump promised to end a major federal agency and to, of course, also free Ross. So, yeah. I think it's fair to say that every step of the way here becomes not just a major milestone, but a major moment in this election, which highlights that Donald Trump will probably be the future president of the United States if they allow it to happen. Now, will they? That's another question. Let me know down in the description below. As, of course, we're going to remind you guys to sign up to lookunfiltered.com. A couple days ago, I just got absolutely obliterated with this crazy demand by the federal government. I need to now hire lawyers to help me out here. So we need your support more than ever. Truly, I am dealing with a very difficult time in my life. I think this year has been like one of the hardest years. No, the hardest year of my life. I've been going through a lot. I've been working my butt off. There definitely seems to be some kind of larger kind of underhanded efforts going up against me almost every step of the way with every little thing that I do. And the only thing that keeps me going is your support on lookunfiltered.com. Again, if you haven't signed up yet, sign up right now. It means the world to me, and it is very important to keep this independent operation going, whose future is still unknown. So if people don't sign up, we probably won't be here. If you guys do sign up, we will continue to fight for you as best as we can. We provide you a lot of offers of value. And truly, if you ever thought about signing up, this is the time to do it. Click the link down in the description below, and I will see you there with special messages, with a special broadcast just for members this week on lookunfiltered.com. You also get the ability to call in. We're going to be returning back 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This on thebestpoliticalshow.com. As of course, stay tuned for more here on, God willing, on youtube.com/wearechange.